Afternoon, Stanley County. Tommy Jordan here. Don't really have a particular topic today. Really just want to talk about what was going on and what it means for us as a country. I know North Carolina, I think we're 36 days into our state of emergency, which is probably close to just about as many days into a lot of businesses being shut down. You know, I drive past places every day, and I wonder if that particular one is going to be open again. You know, if I'll see it open back up in 2 weeks. I don't know. I think where we are as a state, and I know we're not the only state, but I think where we are as states and as a country is that we're in a place where we're kind of sort of waiting to see who's going to blink first. Either the governors of all of our states decide that they're not going to wait for the president to do it, and they're going to reopen their states for business, and you know, even if it's on a limited basis, or they're going to roll the dice and wait and hope that that the federal government will lead that example and make the mandate and take the pressure off them to do it. If they act before the federal government, then you're going to have all these businesses and hurt and angry individuals saying, well, you kept saying we had to shut down for safety and for health. You shut down just long enough to kill us and kill our business, but now you're going to reopen. That's going to leave some bitter resentment behind. Then you're going to have those that say, how dare you open up now? We were so close. It's your fault. These people are going to die. And so when we do reopen, there's going to be that sentiment. So, I mean, so there's, and then you're going to have the very few in the third category that are like, thank you for opening our businesses back up. Now let's get back to work. I'm not saying any of those people are wrong. I think we need to remember that they're all right, that they are all in the situation they're in, and it's a legitimate situation for them and their families and their businesses and their employees and their future and their life. It's real for them. It's the same at the federal level, I think. I think a lot of governors are waiting to see, is Trump going to reopen the states? Is he going to, you know, suggest or order or, you know, incentivize getting states reopened, or is he going to incentivize keeping things closed and writing more stimulus checks that we can't cash? But anyway, and Trump has the same problems. You know, he's a politician that has to run for re-election, and this is his election year. And as much as you might want to say that's not fair and that politics shouldn't come into it, well, I mean, I hate to say it, but grow up. They do. It's politics. Politics don't ever not get into politics. If it's a politician making a decision that affects people that vote, it's about politics at the end of the day. They all are. So if Trump decides to hold the line and keep the country the way it is right now, mostly shut down, and keep encouraging that, then he's going to take the flak for all these failed businesses. On the other hand, if he opens up tomorrow, he's going to take the flak from all the businesses who have already failed and blame him for their failure, because they're going to say, well, if you'd just given up a week earlier instead of giving up a week later, my business could have been saved, or our employees could have been saved, or my industry could have been saved, or my farm could have been saved. And they're going to be right. That's their reality that they live in. You're going to have the people that say, well, you opened up the country early, and now my granddaddy died, or these people in this nursing home got sick, or this particular demographic you know, had a weighted amount of deaths, and it's your fault. There is no win any of this. There's not. You know, I was sitting today talking with somebody whom I respect and works in the county, and he said, you know, we're writing debt right now our grandkids are going to be paying off. It hit me. I was like, wow, you know what, you're right. I mean, I'm 42 years old. It's 2020. We're almost 100 years since the last depression. But, and I've said this all along, and I hope people understand this down deep where it matters, that you understand things. I mean, way down in here. I hope people understand that this is probably going to be a depression. This isn't going to be a recession. This isn't something that we're going to bounce back from in 2 days. This is going to be the single worst financial thing to affect the globe in a century. There's nothing like this. There is no modern equivalent of what the world is going through. And to be honest, as Americans, we don't really care what the world's going through. We care what we're going through. We don't care what Canada's going through, or Mexico. Ideally, we do, but we really don't. And again, that's just reality. You could only care about so much when your own house is on fire. When your own house is on fire, you're putting yours out first. And when your house is done, maybe you help an neighbor. That's how I think we as Americans are going to wind up feeling about on a global scale. When everything was okay in our country, it was great to care about feeding starving children in Africa and taking care of third world this and stopping foreign dictators and so. But I don't think we're going to have time to have the luxury of those thoughts for the next 5 years, maybe decade. You know, a lot of markets are going to be changed forever, and the ramifications of those markets being changed can't even be fathomed yet. I read something the other night, you know, about 2 nights ago, about the used car market, and they're right. 2021 is going to be the year to buy a used car. Let me tell you something. If I was a used car salesman, that's the year to open a lot. If you want to just go on, if you're just going to move at low dollar, that's the year to do it. You know, you got fleets, thousands of fleets of rental companies buying cars. They sell their used inventory, their quasi new used inventory, and they keep it replaced pretty quickly. The entire car rental agency is stopped across the United States. It's just frozen. It's dead. So they got to get rid of their old cars, which nobody's going to have any money to buy. They can't buy any new cars, so new cars are going to back up on lots because they buy a lot of cars compared to, you know, I buy one. They buy 10,000, and they buy them twice a year. You know, I buy one every 10 years. So that kind of, industry is a big customer, and when they can't move their used inventory, then they can't provide new inventory. It kind of cascades, and it's just one little example of an industry that's going to change, and it's going to ripple across our economy. I think the largest pork processing center, one of the largest pork processing centers in the United States, is going to shut down, or has shut down. I mean, you're talking a 20-25% hit to the U.S. meat market. That's grocery stores, people. You know, we live in a world, if you're watching this and you're below my age, then you grew up in a world where you go to one store. I'm only 40, but I remember the invention of a super Walmart. I remember a store with food and clothes. Shit, that was awesome. You mean you didn't have to go to Ingles first and then go to Rose's second? You go to both at one time? Man, boy, that's new. Not only are you going to have to go back to that, I bet you're going to get back for a while to where if you want butter, if you want meat, if you want fresh peppers, you're going to have to go to 3 stores after work. You're going to hit Walmart to grab your Kool-Aid juice box and your cereal and maybe some milk, and then you're going to drive, because they ain't going to have no meat, you're going to drive down to the butcher shop and pick up some fresh steaks or some chicken, which ain't going to be processed like it was and in the pretty little plastic packages where you didn't have to do any work. And you might have to wait till Saturday to go to farmer's market because they don't have a farmer's market every day, and they don't have a lot of selection down at the local buy low. So if you want fresh peppers and cucumbers and tomatoes and okra and all that stuff, you're going to have to wait till the one day a week when all the people that sell that can take time off from actually gathering it to come offer it to you. That could happen. That could be the world that we wake up and find ourselves in 3 months from now. And maybe I'm wrong. I mean, and that's okay. I don't mind being wrong. In fact, if I'm wrong about all this, the world will be a much happier place. So I'm okay if I'm wrong. The problem is, without sounding like an arrogant asshole, I'm not usually wrong. I don't know, man. The fact that we're writing debt that our kids and grandkids are going to have to pay for is scary, but I think it's true. I mean, as a country, we just cut ourselves a $2 trillion check, and that makes people feel great. Hey, we just bailed out $2 trillion worth of businesses. Now, forget whether we should or shouldn't have. Nobody has time to sit around and watchdog every single business that needed a bailout this time around, unlike last time where we had a little more warning and a little more time to plan and react. This is the entire country just stopped overnight. So if the president wanted to keep the wheels turning at all, he wrote a $2 trillion check. Okay, fine. At some point in time, that money's got to come back. And who do you think is going to pay for it? Us. Then he just did a $350 billion free payroll for every business in America. I mean, my wife's business, my business, we took it. I talked to some people who, in fact, there were conference calls for companies going, hey, you know, our business really isn't hurt. So we don't really need this triple P, you know, payroll package. People on the call said, what are you, stupid? That's 2 months of free payroll, you idiot. Take it. Because what's going to follow this is raised taxes. So that 2 months of free payroll is going to be offset by increased taxes probably for quite a while, which is going to equate to more than you got in free payroll. So if you don't take the payroll grant out of some misbegotten urge to be a do-gooder, you're just going to wind up not getting any money now and spending money later because the whole rest of the world's taking it. So I did the paperwork. Probably going to be $100,000, $200,000. It'll all get forgiven, which even it just blows my mind. Dumbest thing I ever saw in my life, but I guess something's got to be done, and that's what they chose. That's what they thought it had to be, so that's what they did. So there's $350 billion, so now we're at $2.3 trillion. We have more people on unemployment signed up per week than the country gets signed up in an entire year. And that's not slowing down. I mean, we're literally just writing checks on a bank account that the average Joe doesn't know, doesn't really have any money in it. We're just making people feel better. Not we, I'm not doing it. The government is just making people feel better short term because they know if they do that, you'll stay calm. We will stay calm. And if we stay calm, they have a better chance of managing us through this crisis. So I get what's going on, and I don't resent them for doing it because it's a valid approach. The other approach is, and for those of you out there that are thinking, well, there's a better way to do this, well, I mean, hell, I got nothing better to do, so let's talk about that for a minute. What's the other approach? You let businesses be responsible for businesses. You force them to shut down. So you've got to be closed, and we're not giving you anything. Well, within a week, you'd have riots. You'd have people throwing car tires and propane tanks through business windows, busting inside and looting, taking all they can. You'd have grocery stores that would be shut down because they'd have been robbed clean out of existence overnight. You don't have enough cops to handle that. Can you imagine trying to be a police force or a military force? The entire country just lost its damn mind at one time. Cops couldn't do anything. I mean, no disrespect to police officers, but they couldn't do anything. Look at my little county, 70,000 people and maybe 200 cops. There's nothing they could do. You know, if the government didn't do what it did, didn't take the steps that it did to put locks in place and to put graduated steps, you know, to ease the country into this and ease them back out of it, that's what would have happened. So I applaud them for doing it. I don't necessarily think it was the right idea, but nobody consulted me. And in all my postulating and thinking, I haven't thought of a better idea. So I'm not going to sit here and criticize them for doing it. I just think the ramifications of it are going to be worse than your average Joe realizes. I don't know. Today was the first day I just didn't do much. I sat here on the back porch for a little bit, played with my dogs, drank my sweet tea, picked on the guitar a little bit. I just needed to get my head out of all this for just a little bit. I mean, I think we're blessed. My business is going to be okay, I think. I mean, I'm going to suffer a little bit of downturn, and I won't have any new growth for a while probably, but I'll overcome that. I always do. So my wife's business, she owns a veterinary practice. I mean, they shouldn't be going anywhere. That business is solid, so they'll be good. That need won't go away. So I think that we're going to be okay, but I look around and think, are we? I don't know. What about my neighbors? With these neighbors, you know, great neighbors. We got Butch and Pat over there, John and Anna over there, and Terry and Trish, and Wanda, and the judge, and the attorney. All great people. How are their lives going to change? How are their incomes going to change? They lose their house, lose a job. I don't know. I drove past it's a place in town I like to eat. It's called Off the Square. I don't know why they called it that, except maybe because it's a little bit off and away from the town square. Maybe that's the thinking. At least I assume that's the thinking. But it's about my favorite place to eat in 100 miles of where I'm at right now. It is a great little local joint to eat. It's a little bit pricey, but you're getting what you paid for. And I drive past it on the motorcycle every couple of days now. I look in and I just think there's a good chance they could never open again, and that would suck. I'm looking forward to trying my very best again, because we are kind of blessed. And I'd encourage you to do this. If you're still here and paying attention 18 minutes in this video, you've learned by now it's not really going anywhere. It's just me talking and you listening. Maybe I'm talking to myself. I don't know. But if you're still listening, I hope when things do get turned back on, within the realm of what you're able to, I hope you will spend as much money with as many local businesses as you can. If it's restaurants and you can afford to eat out and tip well. If it's the dry cleaners, take stuff to them you wouldn't always take. If you have the money. I'm not saying if you don't. I don't usually get all my dress shirts dry cleaned. I just get my nice ones. Maybe I'll get them all dry cleaned this next couple times. Maybe that extra $6 or $8 a week would help. I mean, it would if 1,000 people did it. Maybe taking my wife to Off the Square 3 times in a week was the first week back open, which would be very unusual for us. It's usually like once a month. But, you know, maybe that'll help get them back open. Maybe I'll try and buy from the corner market instead of the Walmart. Or, you know, I don't know. Wonder about my kids, what they're going to do. My daughter, Hannah, Hannah's 23 right now. She's still working. She's working at the sub shop or pizza shop. She's working at the vape shop. I think is shut down right now. But you know, she's 23 years old. She lives on her own. She pays her own bills, and she's getting through this thing just like we all are. And I mean, this is going to be a defining moment in her life. This is going to be something she remembers like I remember 9/11. You know, where were you when? You know, what happened when the world stopped turning? Hate to use that analogy, but more than ever, wow, I hadn't thought about that till right then. Man, where were you when the world stopped turning? Yeah, that's probably the most apt analogy I can think of. Because September 11th was bad. For those of you that aren't fans, that's an Alan Jackson song. Where were you when the world stopped turning on that September day? He does it much better than I did, sorry, but it's about what was going on when the Twin Towers got attacked. And you know, we thought over here then that the world stopped turning. You know, it's just a song, it's just a lyric, it's just one man's interpretation, but it was well received. And the idea was that the whole world came to a standstill because of those towers. And the whole world didn't. I mean, our world did. Here in America, our world came to a standstill. But the whole world didn't. But now, coronavirus 2020, the whole world stopped turning. For a little bit. My grandkids, if I have any, let me see, be around 10th grade, I guess, they'd go back through U.S. history again, which would put I'll be about 58 if I were to have grandkids next year. So I'm not quite 60 years old. Not that I'm in any rush to have grandkids, Hannah. I'm just not throwing that out there. I'm just saying, if it were to happen, I'm not encouraging you to facilitate that particular thing. Okay, just slow your roll. But if it were to happen, I'd be about 58 years old when that kid was going through U.S. history in 10th grade and came home and said, "Hey, Granddad, I learned about the coronavirus of 2020." But I think, wow, what did you learn? What did you hear? I mean, that's how big this is. It's going to be in history books for the foreseeable future. It's going to shape the world for the foreseeable future. You know, those that survived the Depression the first time were never really understood. As time went on and the world forgot, and a new generation came about, and the world forgot what the Depression was like because they weren't alive during it. Their parents were, their grandparents were. So they see these habits like, Grandma, you know, why do you keep a freezer full of food? I mean, you can just go down the street to the food line and buy more meat. Why do you need to buy 200 pounds of food? That's just strange to me. Most people, they don't even have a deep freezer. I found myself, I got two. I found myself thinking, I wonder if I need a third. You know, all of a sudden I became a Mormon. But, you know, that's one of those things they did. They remember what it's like to have no food. That's why, if you're my age, even when I was younger, in the 80s and 90s, down here in the South, we ate canned vegetables, canned squash, canned green beans, canned things that Grandma made, because she learned to make them back when you didn't know where your next meal was coming from. That's how she was raised. And you prepared, and you hid things away, you stored things away for the future. We quit doing that, which is fine. I mean, you know, it's a good sign that we've lived in a world where that's not our first priority. It does mean that we've moved on and that the world is a better place. But we have been quickly reminded and instantly reminded that it can change like that. So it's going to be interesting to see the world go back to those ways, because it will. Nowhere in your life, I mean, you might be thinking, no, it won't. I guarantee you, you'll walk through a CVS or a Walgreens or a Walmart 6 months from now, and you'll see a family pack of N95 respirators. You'll think to yourself, yeah, I got to get me a pack of them. In fact, you might get 2 or 3. You'll put them on a shelf because you know you don't need them, but you're just thinking, one day, you know, just maybe. We'll go back to having pantries in homes and having food pantries in kitchens. And people think I'm crazy. You know, my friends will come over and I'll say, hey, I need. I'll ask my wife, don't forget to put sugar on the grocery list. I just finished this 5-pound bag of sugar for coffee or sweet tea or something. So I say, Tommy, there's 45 pounds in the pantry. Well, yeah, there's 45 pounds. There's supposed to be 50. So please pick up 2 5-pound bags of sugar, one to go in the kitchen and one to make the pantry back to 50 pounds. Because that's what's supposed to be there. There's also 50 pounds of flour. You know, there's also enough spaghetti to cook for the entire Mormon Tabernacle Choir and the church they're playing for. Because that's how I was raised. And that's, you know, you keep enough food on hand to last. I think we'll go back to that. I think everybody will. I think if they're smart. I don't know. It's a pretty day. The world's quieter. You probably can't hear it. There's traffic behind me on that road. It's about, I don't know, 600 or 700 feet behind me to the highway. But I can hear the difference. Normally you don't ever hear any long silences. It's usually the occasional silence interrupted by the sounds of passing traffic, big rigs, occasional motorcycles, loud sports cars. Not today. That annoying guy that rides a motorcycle, that winds it up real loud, coming and going up down the hill. He hadn't been out in a while. The guy with the little souped up Ford, you know, Escort, that little rice burning piece of crap that they have, and got that loud pipe on. You don't hear him anymore. Maybe he's staying home. Maybe he doesn't have a job right now and he can't afford the gas to burn. I don't know. The world looks different. It sounds different. Hell, my nice, beautiful vinyl-sided home right against that wall over yonder, I usually have some pretty rose bushes and some big rosemary. My wife likes rosemary. I plant it every year, so on Thanksgiving Day when she goes out to cook that Thanksgiving turkey to make fresh rosemary, she has it. I pretty much plant rosemary every year for one day. But it's gone. All torn out. Stacked 2 foot deep with a raised bed now to make tomatoes and cucumbers and beans and greens and everything we need to get through the summer in case stores don't open back up. Dog. That doesn't change. Hey! I'm amazed they went this long. Bonnie! Hush! I don't know, man. Hey, Bonnie, go over here and say hello to everybody. Come around. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come this way. Come here, Bonnie. Come here, Bonnie. Hop up. There you go. Can you say hey to camera? Say no. I say pet my head, dang it. There you go. I don't know, man. A lot of things don't seem important. Ghost! Hush! This time of year, usually I'm thinking I want to go jet skiing, I want to go out on a pontoon boat. What are my weekends? You know, what can I do to have fun on the weekends? COVID 2020. I'm thinking, do I need to sacrifice more dirt in my yard to make a raised garden bed so I can plant more vegetables? You know, do I need to plant potatoes? Do I need to? I don't know. Got to take care of my mom. She's 72. Independent and a healthy lady overall, but it's a scary new world we're in right now. Rotten dog. All right. I've rambled on enough, and they're gonna start barking, making noise. So, have a good day, y'all. Take care of each other. Think about it. Plan for the future. We don't know what it's going to hold right now. We don't know what it's going to be like. If there's ever a time I can say plan for the worst and hope for the best, this is it. Plan for relying on nobody but yourself. Plan for another month of no work. I'd love to be wrong. But even if business is fired up tomorrow, if they just did a blanket lift on every retail business everywhere tomorrow, it would be a trickle effect back into the economy. Actually, it would be a depressing and sad stagger start is what would happen. Everybody would open back up, expecting people to show up. And then they'd have a quick burst. It probably wouldn't even last the first morning, but it certainly wouldn't last past the first day. And then they realized that all the things they wanted to do, they can't do because they haven't been working for the last month. So they don't have the money. Or they'll find out that when they try to open their hair salon or their nail salon or their deli or their restaurant, that their staff members had to find other jobs and they don't have enough staff to open. Or the chef or the cook, depending on the quality of the place that you choose to eat and frequent for your dining habits. You know, he's not available. He had to go take another job somewhere else. Plan for another month, America. It's April 14th. I've been telling people all along June, end of June, July. I don't think our economy will really get started back till about the 1st of July, and that's if we're lucky. But I really hope I'm wrong. I think that's how long it would take for us to do it and have beaten this virus. Let me say it that way. I don't think we'll wait that long. But time will tell. Y'all be good. Take care of each other. Have a good day. Tommy out.